Okay, so this is video number 2, and I wrapped up the first video explaining the whole rat issue, how we found one inside of the vehicle, which is so crazy in a brand new vehicle, how it got in, or at least how we feel it got in, and how I was able to actually detect it using a Reolink camera, a really inexpensive pan tilt zoom camera connected to a battery that I have inside of the truck, or a portable power station. Ran it all night. It was connected to Wi-Fi in the building, which was able to give me live access into what was going on inside of the truck, and that was the only way I was able to locate that there was a rat in the cab of my truck that got in through a very interesting method, which we'll talk about in this video and what we're going to do to fix it. Guys, hang tight. I'll be right back. Okay, so I have the hood open right now, and I was looking all around here with my super high-powered DeWalt spotlight, and I couldn't find any path from the firewall in, which kind of makes sense because if you've ever tried to add wiring, if you've ever tried to add stuff to your vehicle, you'll realize that it's actually very difficult to get wires into the vehicle in a really good way unless you're poking a hole through a grommet or you drill your own hole. Even on older vehicles, they do a pretty good job. Where I think it got in is actually right here. So check that out. That's the GPS antenna for my Wolfbox rear view camera mirror. Let's see if I can show you this. I believe that that area right there is where they got in. And I actually wonder if I'm looking at a piece of poop. I am. You see it right there? Right there. That is the gap that they got in through. It's where the hinge for the hood goes back. It's not a huge opening. It's just kind of an odd opening. And I don't know how far back that goes, but it's definitely a pretty sizable area. And I can definitely get to it. So I'm sure that is probably where it got in. Now what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to stuff that area with some filling material to hopefully prevent little animals from getting in there again, but I still have to get into the vehicle and figure out how it got from here into the actual vehicle. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be where the cabin filter was. So let's check that out first. Now I've made videos on this before, but the cabin filter on Super Duties is located behind the glove box. So you have to open up the glove box. There's 2 tabs on the inside where you push in and the glove box will fall down. And then there's a little guide rail right here. It's a little plastic rail that just kind of keeps this thing from opening too far. And you simply release that and we can pop the glove box down. So let's do that real quick. So here are the tabs. There's one right there, and then the release for the other one is right there on the other side. You simply squeeze them in, and this will fall out of its slot. There's that little guide rail. All this stuff is going to fall out when I release it, but then that's how you remove the glove box, which you probably want to do anyways, just to give you more room. See that little wire down there? That's simply the wire to my 2 extra 12-volt sockets I put there with the USBs there also. But the cabin filter is going to be generally behind this space. It's right there. You see that honeycomb shape? That is where the cabin filter is. So we have to figure out if that is actually a location where that guy got in. So let me remove some of this and then we'll look there. Okay, so the cover simply pops off. There's 2 clips on each side, and you pull the clips towards you to pop the cover off. And then the cabin filter would normally rest inside there. Let me show you here. So the air comes in from up here, and then it gets pulled through, and check this out. So I have the cabin filter right here. What do you think that is inside of the filter? Got some rat droppings in here. Now, thankfully, not a lot. I'm going to replace the filter, and I'm going to hopefully add something that will prevent that from happening again. But this is definitely where they got in. So if you want to wonder how they get in, this is a very, very flexible filter. So really all it takes is for them to get into the space where this is at, and then they just squeeze by it. And once they squeeze by it, they can directly enter the vehicle through the holes down there, which goes straight to your vents or your ducting, which is down here. So it's not very difficult for them to get in once they get access to that area. Now I'm probably going to go ahead and drop this down and just see if there's anything under there that could have been impacted. But yeah, that's the route they used to get in, and it is a very, very vulnerable route. I really think manufacturers should take this into account and put maybe some type of a harder filter, or simply put some type of aluminum or metal screen over this to prevent it from being accessed the way that they're accessing it. But yeah, that's how they got in, or that's how he got in. Like I said, there wasn't a tremendous amount of droppings in here, but you don't want any. Now, if I look at the filter, you can actually see right here where it looks like it may have urinated on here. And that's all air that you're breathing in. So I'm going to replace this filter, put a new one in, and I'm going to figure out how I can prevent that from happening again. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I have the filter that was in the truck, and before I go out and put a new one in, I am going to use this stainless steel 1/8 of an inch hole metal mesh. Now, this is stainless steel mesh. I'm cutting it out slightly larger than the size of the filter. I'm going to cut that out. I'm going to form it to the inside of that box where the air filter goes in, and I'll probably do it twice. I'll probably put one on the bottom and one on the top, and that hopefully will prevent any type of mice or rats from getting into the actual cabin filter area, which again is very accessible from the outside of the vehicle. Then I'm also going to stuff the 2 crevices on the end with stainless steel wool and see if that helps. But the first part is this stuff, and this is all welded mesh. It's actually pretty dang stiff, and hopefully that will act as a pretty good deterrent. I might use this one, and I might use a slightly larger, thicker diameter hole as well, just for the purpose of having 2 barrier layers, one being stronger than the other in case somehow they can chew through this, which I don't think they'd be able to. And I have this little tool right here, which is designed to bend metal. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bend it when I get to the truck. So it looks like this. And it goes into the spots where the mouse might be able to squeeze through and around the filter. Now here's my thicker mesh. This stuff is nearly 1/2 inch. I know people say rats can squeeze into really tight areas, which they can, but typically it's going to be a flat, wide opening, like 1/2 inch that's really wide. But a hole like this, unless it can break every bone in its body, I don't think it's going to be able to get into. And I already have kind of the dimensions I need right here, so we're going to cut this out so it is the same size. And again, I'll do the same thing to bend it up and around the box whenever we get it installed. Like I said, my previous F450, I changed the cabin filter out on it, and I never saw any indications that there was any type of rodent that made it into that truck. So I don't know if maybe they went with a cheaper cabin filter that's easier to get around, or if a rat just got lucky and he made his way in through that opening. But again, you kind of have to take a multi-front approach here. Use peppermint spray, use noisemakers if you can, use lights, basically things that just take every opportunity to irritate the hell out of them so you can hopefully avoid getting them in the first place. Okay, so this is my setup, and again, I'm going to see if I can get all of this formed the way I want it so it fits where I want to put it, and it can hopefully keep future pests or rodents from getting into the truck. Okay, so in the event you're planning on doing a similar modification to your vehicle to prevent rodents from getting in, because honestly they can get in pretty easily, I'm going to give you the dimensions of what I've done here. I took this piece and I flanged it up right here at the end, and it fits perfectly once I remove these. So I'm going to cut these little stems off, but the actual measurements of this are, see if I can operate a tape measure with one hand. So the exact measurements of this are 10 inches by 8 inches. So 10 inches by 8 inches exactly will make this fit perfectly in there. Again, I'm flanging it up on the end right here. Probably don't need to. I'm going to do it anyways. I might have to actually cut that off only because the filter might catch on it when it's going in. But I do need to cut the little ends off right here. And the 10-inch measurement is from the end here to this wire going across right here. Okay, so I've cleaned off the sharp ends off of this side and trimmed them down on that side. I'm going to leave those sticking off the back there. I unplugged this harness right here because it makes it kind of difficult to get anything in there without bending it. And this should just slide right in now. There we go. And I'm hoping that the air filter itself will muffle any sound that this might normally make rattling. If I appear to hear anything, I will I'll definitely put some padding or something in here to prevent that from happening. Now, it might actually make more sense to put it up here like this, if it'll fit. Let me see. I don't know if it will because of how that's designed. Yeah, that probably won't fit. It'll probably fit underneath here like that. That might be the better way of doing it, only because they can't really nest on top of it as easily. They might try to, but that might be the better way. So I'm going to trim this mesh down as well, or simply form it so it fits similarly, and then wrap the filter in it. Okay, before I take off and get another cabin filter, this is stainless steel wool. This stuff is really coarse. You definitely want to wear leather gloves whenever you're working with it because you can get some really tiny splinters that just never go away. And I know out of experience. But I took pieces of this, I wadded it up, and let me show you where I put it. So hopefully you can see it back there. I wadded it up and I stuffed it about 3 inches back into this whole cavity right here, all the way up to the end here, which if I can pull this up, it's just soft rubber, you'd probably be able to see it. But yeah, it's all the way back here, and there you go, you might be able to see that. And that is very likely the route that Mr. Mouse took to get inside of the truck. I say that because I even went to the other side and they have it capped off. So they actually prevent it from being an access point on the driver's side, but it is a clear access point on the passenger side. On the driver's side, as you can see, it is capped off even way up here. There's plastic up here. And yeah, there's just really no path for him to get in on this side that I'm aware of, at least anything as large as what I caught. But there's plenty of room on the other side until I stuffed it full of the stainless steel mesh. And of course, you do want to use stainless steel if you're going to do this, because last thing you want is a bunch of wire rusting back there. And even eventually galvanized steel could probably do that as well, so I prefer to use stainless steel. I don't think it's any more expensive, but it's just one less thing I have to worry about. And now that that entry area is blocked off, hopefully they won't be able to get in. Here's the sad thing. I got a bunch of other cars around here, and I need to probably check all of those as well to make sure that no mice, rats have tried to get in through that area on those vehicles. And it's as simple with the Expedition of going in there, looking at the cabin filter and see if there's any signs of rodent droppings or anything in there. I don't know how to do it on the Denali. I'll have to check it out. And on the Subaru, again, I don't know how to do it there, so I'll also have to check it out. But hopefully they've done a better job than what Ford's done in trying to prevent rodents from getting in. Okay, so I just ran over to O'Reilly's, picked up 3 cabin air filters. The GMC air filter is significantly smaller than the Expedition and my F450s, but I got all 3 of them, cost me about $85. I figure I'm going to do this modification to the Denali, the Expedition, as well as my F450. This is the only one they had for my F450. It was a bit more expensive. That said, we're going to get these things wrapped and installed, at least this one right now, then we'll do the other 2. I actually ordered some mesh stainless steel screen that's 8 inches by 12 inches. I know the filter is 8 by 10, and this filter is also 8 by 10, but I think if I go 8 by 12, it'll give me an inch to wrap on each side of it, which would actually make it a little easier to insert into the spot. So Depending on how that mesh turns out, how it works, I might make a video on it just so you all can do a similar modification if you think you want to try to do it for your vehicle. That said, we're going to get this unboxed, go ahead and throw it in the truck and see if it fits. So this is kind of the idea. I have the filter out, I have the thicker mesh that'll go on the bottom, and the thinner will go on top. The reason why I'm doing it this way is because if they do choose to do anything here, this will collect the poop and it will kind of hold it in place. So we're going to go ahead and try to get this inserted in there and see if it all fits. Okay, so with two hands, it was actually a pretty simple process. You just kind of had to negotiate it in there, but it fits. Now we're going to see if we can get the cover back on. The cover sits like this, so the groove is on the top because it needs to slide above the mesh. There we go. Okay, so I have the cover back on and secure. Again, it wasn't too difficult with two hands getting the top one to slide in place. I did have to trim it back about 1/2 inch off the front because it wasn't allowing this piece right here to go inside. So I think we're still in really good shape. The main barrier is that bottom piece, which is going to be virtually impossible for them to get through or around. So I think we're in good shape. I just got to plug these two plugs back in, wherever they go. And then this one right here. I don't even know what these go to, but I had to unplug them to get through here. Looking down in here, I don't think there's really any residual anything left in here. Again, he wasn't in here for very long, but it is worth checking back here to see if there's any nesting materials or anything that he might have gotten into. I don't think he did. Like I said, it's pretty much that day that I was getting alerted to any types of disturbance in the truck. And I don't see anything in here indicating that he damaged anything, which is good. So we're going to get all this put back together, then I'll turn the AC on and see, you know, how effective it is. I really don't think this is going to cause much of an issue with airflow, and the big one definitely won't, or the larger mesh. But let's get all this put back together. Okay, so we're in the truck now, and I need to make sure that we have good airflow coming through the vents whenever we have it turned on, because the cabin filter now has mesh on both sides of it. So first thing I'm going to do is turn off of recirculative air, which I don't know if I need to do that. Still really good airflow, and I don't think I need to. I think the cabin filter actually recirculates the air in here as well. Doesn't feel like I've lost any airflow at all in the truck. So yeah, I think we're in good shape. Plenty of airflow. I now have 2 layers of stainless steel mesh, really thick stuff that's 1/2 inch spaced, and then I have really thin stuff that is 1/8 inch spaced, and that should prevent any more rodents from possibly getting in through there, plus the fact that I stuffed the entrance area, or at least what I believe to be the entrance area, full of stainless steel wool, which should prevent them from getting in from that spot as well. So I think we're done. I'm going to wrap the video up. I will put some links to the stuff that I used in the description of this video if you might want to try to tackle this project on your own as well. Pain in the butt project, one that I never thought that I'd have to make. I'm glad I found at least where I believe everything was coming in. All the signs pointed to it. Found rat droppings underneath the cowling over here, so obviously they had to have a path in. There was a large enough path from the side, so they must have come in through there. They went down into the air ducting that goes to the cabin filter over here, because there were rat droppings in the actual cabin filter, and the rat got into the truck. It was super creepy when you see a big rat appear on camera when you're not in the truck, knowing that you've been driving around, throughout the day, possibly with it inside of the vehicle. Anyways, guys, again, we're going to wrap it up. Airflow feels perfectly fine. This is something that the manufacturer should just do. They should just include something like that. It's just one extra step to prevent electrical damage, problems, and it wouldn't be very expensive. All manufacturers, Ford, GM, Ram, and every other brand should have some type of a real good barrier preventing rodents from getting into the vehicle. Again, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.